Hi, this is Conrad Zimmerman of FistShark Marketing, here to remind you that this show only exists because of listener support. Not only that, but the entirety of our self-worth as human beings, too. So just visit patreon.com/FistShark or click the big Patreon button at FistShark.com for more details on how you can make us feel better about being the horrible people we are. And thanks for listening. I don't know what else I can tell James Lipton about the gun control issue. Like, I mean, I've talked to him time and time again, and I said, look, man, we're kind of stuck, right? I mean, it's not like sentiment in this country is going to change. I know you're dedicated to the movement. I know you want to see guns eliminated from this country, but you got to be realistic. Like, there's not a great path to it yet.
I mean, you've got to really lay this out in realistic terms for these people. We're between a rock and a hard place, where in this case the rock has a giant gun and the hard place is full of massive guns.
Right, yeah, it's between a gun and a hard place full of guns. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's between a gun and a gun.
There's just no room to move.
Not in this office, not with the amount of guns we have in here.
And rightfully so. Like, this was... I don't know why we chose to meet today in the armory as opposed to in the conference room.
I just wanted to look at a lot of guns, and... well, you got to protect yourself. That's what people don't understand. Like, if a lone wolf, aka a white person, came into this office with a gun and tried to shoot the place up, then I'm well within my rights to take this mortar cannon here and fire it in the break room.
You're right. You're free to do that as an American. And the reason you're free to do that as an American is because it's in the financial interests of weapon manufacturers to do that, right? To make that available to you so that you can buy their guns. And we can't just not consider their needs.
Well, let's not forget that guns are manufactured by corporations. And come on, let's have a little sympathy. Corporations are people too.
Right.
It's the year 2017 current year argument. Let's have a little humanity.
No, we need to remember that for every decision that we make, there's going to be some sort of reaction, right?
Yes, from a real person that exists as a tall building full of smaller persons.
They're going to be negatively impacted. And so we have to keep them in mind, and we have to try and think of ways to bring them to the table, right? To entice them to consider the option of gun control if that's what you really want. And I mean, I'm personally not a fan, right? I think people should be able to buy whatever they want because I am a person that sells whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I don't know a lot about guns. I just know that I feel like I've got a massive penis when I hold one. So I'm all for guns continuing.
They're wonderful. James Lipton does not happen to agree.
James Lipton.
And I have to put my personal politics aside, right? Because I have to serve the client.
Of course.
And I have to do what he wants. And I keep trying to explain to him that unless we could come up with some other way to sort of balance it out, that we're not hurting these fine corporations that make all of our guns, there's no way we could do it.
These fine people, these fine human beings who are just trying to offer us a way to protect our home from the government. Like, if the government decided to mount an armed hostile takeover of Boston, and they rolled in here with their tanks and their drones and their bombs and their thousands of soldiers, I'm going to want that little assault rifle.
Absolutely.
Because I've got to look after what's mine.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be able to be on even footing with that, to stand up for what's yours and say, no, you can't take this.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a marginally less bad guy like me with a gun.
Precisely.
I don't shoot people on purpose. That's the difference between me and a lot of the people giving guns a bad name right now.
All right, let's say hypothetically,
Hypothetically,
we
that
found...
was fun to say, you're right. That was a great idea, and that's going in the ledger. Say that more often.
Okay, here's another one. Here's another idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if we found some other market for the guns?
Some other market for the guns.
Right? Because if our concern is that if we control guns in this country,
Mm-hmm.
it hurts the people making the guns. So we want them to be able to continue to make guns, continue to have their business and be successful.
Well, of course we do.
We just need then to find them another place where they could sell their product that doesn't conflict with this sort of domestic control scheme that gets put forth.
You thinking we sell them all to Miley Cyrus?
That would be domestic sales still. I think she's still...
Oh, yeah, she's still technically a domestic.
Despite our best efforts.
Yeah, she's not yet a foreign terrorist.
Now, hold on a second. You might be onto something, though.
Really?
Foreign.
Foreign?
Foreign. The foreign market.
Make guns here, sell them elsewhere. I mean, that sounds a lot like weapons trading, which I think I read in a pamphlet somewhere is unpopular.
Well, no. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, and complicated. I think there's only, a few places you could sell the guns out to, and yeah, it is frowned upon.
At the same time, though, things are only frowned upon when people can look at them to frown on them.
That's true.
I mean, is secret arms dealing worse than not secret arms dealing? It's still arms dealing.
But I guess I think you could argue that it's better from the standpoint that if nobody knows about a crime, is it really committed?
Well, if a tree falls down in the woods, does it make a sound? Obviously, yes, because the woods are full of birds that are going to hear it. It was a terrible analogy. It's always been a terrible analogy.
Maybe there's still another safer way around it.
Right.
Because there is a risk there if it is discovered. And Lord knows, we've had a real problem with information leaking out of these offices of late.
Oh, God, the hacking never stops.
No. So we do need to maybe be careful about that aspect of it.
Let me pitch this one to you and see if you hit it with your baseball bat and score a home run and run around the pitch hitting all the bases. Arms dealing. Foreign arms dealing. Unpopular.
Right.
Foreign wars. Pretty popular.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
Wars need guns.
Wars do need guns. I see what you're saying. So we go to the arms manufacturers and we say, hey, James Lipton really, really wants gun control in this country, and we know you don't want it. So we're going to throw you a bone to make up for it. We are going to start a war.
I really like the plan. In fact, I think it's perfect. Now all we need to do is start up some sort of conflict with an armed power, one that's potentially a nuclear threat, but not quite threatening enough for us to not go over there and kick the shit out of them.
Right. It has to be someone that we can soundly defeat, but also it has to be able to drag out for a really long time.
We want to make a lot of money out of this.
Yeah, well, and if we're gonna, suggest the idea that we're gonna get gun control, I mean, let's be honest. This will be enough to placate James, but who are we kidding?
Too many people like guns.
But if we're gonna sell this to the arms manufacturers as a counterbalance, it's gonna have to be like a 10-year plan, I would expect. Like, they're going to really need to be able to see that they're going to get their investment back.
I like it. I like this a lot. I'll tell you what, I'll draft up a proposal. I'll run it by the senior partners. I think I'll title it, Make All Guns always MAGA.
God bless America.
God bless it indeed. Oh, good. We get to deal with another protest. Hooray!
It's like the fifth this week. Don't people have better things to do than complain?
Complain and whine and moan because of things we've done. Oh, my hair fell out. Oh, I can't see anymore. Oh, I used to be able to pick things up heavier than a chicken. Oh, my house is full of chickens. Oh, this chicken is giant and it's in my garage. Why do they blame us for everything?
People need to just take some personal responsibility for their actions.
Personal responsibility. It's your chicken now. Get rid.
Ridiculous. So what is it now?
So people are lining up in the streets because a hit song has come to their attention with lyrics that they find offensive and they want it off the air.
Okay. All right.
It's really not an atypical situation. We've been here a dozen times before.
Sure.
You get FistShark music. It brings out a lot of tunes. And some of them are going to upset people. And that's part of the job. And I understand it's your right to be upset by material. Use your voice, protest it, make things hard for me as a PR representative. You know, make my job fucking more difficult, why don't you? But I get it. It's America. Free speech.
I get it too, but at the same time, I mean, isn't art supposed to challenge people? Supposed to make them think about things in different ways, and I find it so frustrating that we get these protests out over, music and film and all sorts of other entertainment mediums.
The only time it's been acceptable has been when the Constitution added the Feldman Amendment to stop him making sculptures. I'm all for freedom of expression, but that shit should not be legal.
No, yeah. There is a line that needs to be drawn. There's a point where government has to intervene. Yeah, I agree.
Not necessary what Corey was doing.
Protesting a song's lyrics? Like, what's their issue?
This is why this isn't a normal, we can just issue a statement, sweep it under the rug, not really care about its situation. They're protesting the song Buffalo Stance.
Buffalo Stance? You mean the 1989 song by Nene Cherry?
Nene Cherry's hit single Buffalo Stance has caused a recent outrage epidemic, especially here in Boston, at the heart of music, many would say. And yeah, they want it off the air. And that's the problem because it's Buffalo Stance. It's not really on the air much to have it taken off.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's played that on a radio since maybe 1991.
No, I mean, you can get it on Spotify and iTunes. Of course you can. All the hits, all the classics, all the greats. Get a Spotify subscription today.
That's so strange. Like, why would the sudden interest in that particular song?
I have no idea. I think someone with some sway has heard it for the first time. Their complaint stems from the fact that there's nothing in there that explicitly insults, offends, denigrates, or otherwise causes controversy. But the lyrics make so little sense that they're sure there's something in there that's wrong.
Huh.
And if I'm perfectly honest, I can't tell you one way or another. I've listened to that song 15 times this morning, and there could be something insulting in there. There could be pro-Nazi rhetoric in there. I don't know. I don't understand the song.
Maybe the thing to do is to sort of take a hard look at the song and see if we could figure out what the problem is.
Right.
Here's all the boys from home. They all came running. They were making noise, manhandling toys.
Right. You see, that is so open to interpretation. When they say they're making noise and manhandling toys, is this them condoning masturbation in the streets?
You don't necessarily think of sex toys being manhandled, right?
No.
So that doesn't seem to fit.
They could just be pulling their pud really, really violently. And speaking of violence, I mean, making noise, manhandling their toys? Is this a gun control issue? Is that what's being flown under the radar? You just don't know what Buffalo Stance is telling us.
What is buffalo stance anyway? Like, is that a way to stand? Is that a position that you take?
Sexual, maybe?
Maybe it means that you're hunted nearly to extinction.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's a political thing. It's taking a stance on the treatment of buffalo.
Right. But at the same time, I mean, I suppose it could ultimately mean that, but then you look at like a line like, when your shoe's worn through and there's a rumble in your tummy, but you had to have style, get a gold-toothed smile.
That could just describe Dean Cain.
It could describe like the capitalistic drive to consume, which I mean I'm all for. Get that gold-toothed smile.
Absolutely. That'll fix the rumbly tummy.
I don't see that as patently offensive and outrageous for people, right? That's not something to justify protest.
No, hit me with another one.
Okay, all right, here we go. Looking good hanging with the wild bunch, looking good in a buffalo stance, looking good when it comes to the crunch, looking good's a state of mind.
It's talking about inner beauty?
I would think that looking good's a state of mind would make sense. The hanging with the wild bunch and the buffalo stance in there, maybe it's just a way of standing confidently regardless of the fact that somebody is about to shoot you.
I mean, it sounds like an alt-right dog whistle.
Oh, that could be right. Oh, that is dangerous.
I'll have to do some further research on that, but let's circle that and come back to that. The problem with Buffalo Stance is it makes no fucking sense.
None. It makes zero sense whatsoever. I mean, there's talk about a gigolo in there.
Always risque.
Love and beauty, but it doesn't really tie any of it together. It's just like a mess, almost stream of consciousness crap. Is that the problem? Is it that nobody can understand the lyrics to Buffalo Stance and therefore assumes something offensive lies within there and they're just reacting to that?
That's exactly the protest. It's we don't know what Buffalo Stance means. Get rid.
I can see that problem, actually, because the more and more I look at Buffalo Stance, the more and more I think about it, I'm getting the sense that it maybe doesn't say anything at all.
Oh, you think it might just be a song?
You know, I mean, I hate to make that suggestion because it seems so demeaning, but it could just be a song.
The fuck is a Buffalo Stance, though? You know, Conrad, I often think to myself, wouldn't it be great if the song Pinball Wizard was about an actual wizard who played pinball? Like, can you imagine that? If a literal wizard played pinball, that'd be incredible.
No, Jim, that is what Pinball Wizard is about. That's based on an actual person.
Huh?
Yeah, no, really. It's true. Tommy was his nickname. His actual name was Tom Brayan the Tilter. I mean, he's one of a long line of pinball wizards. I mean, it's an ancient thing, pinball wizardry.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I consider myself an intermediate pinballsman, but I never heard of an order of actual pinball wizards.
Oh, yeah, it stretches back centuries.
That seems like a premise ripe for enthralling, interesting content. Tell me more.
No, it's true. The order was founded right around the turn of the millennium. And what they would do is they would travel the world, demonstrating their pinball skills for any and all comers who would come and watch and appreciate it. Now, they were not pinball wizards in the sense that they were, using magic to play pinball.
You see, that was going to be my next question was, does the wizardry have any impact on the pinball? Are these, for example, ensorcelled pinball tables?
No. They have a very, very strict code of ethics
Oh, good.
that they'll never, ever use their magic to influence the game. Because the game is pure, right? It's an expression
Hmm.
of man versus machine.
But what's this I see here in this dusty tome from the turn of the century? As I leaf through these gilded pages, I read of a schism between the Order of the Pinball Wizards.
It's true. It did eventually cause a bit of a rift within pinball wizardry, and because there was a faction, a splinter group that really wanted to be using their powers because they figure, well, we have this gift, we have the ability to reshape our world with magic. Why are we not using that to guide our ball to ever higher scores?
I see here the Order of the Gilded Flippers.
Right. And there was the Civil War between them practically decimated the pinball wizards. That's why you have that period of time from around the turn of the 20th century until around the middle of it and a little bit later where there was no pinball. It just, you couldn't find it anywhere.
Well, I mean, if wizards aren't travelling the globe showcasing their pinball skills, then what need is there for pinball?
Exactly, precisely. But over time, the order has recovered, and the pinball wizards are they're out there. They're keeping things quiet. It's not they don't have the strength that they used to, and there's just not that many tables left. I mean, so many of the tables were destroyed in the wars. And you still occasionally you'll see some upstart pinball wizard come along and do something fancy, and they have an enforcement group that tries to stop these people, but they're small and overworked, and every once in a while someone's just going to break out and cause trouble, and then there's a hunt, a manhunt for like 2-3 weeks, and then they disappear again.
I mean, it seems almost like a shame that there is this code of ethics. I mean, well, you know me, I always think it's a shame when there's a code of ethics, but looking through this dusty tome from the turn of the millennium about pinball wizardry, I can't help but think that some of the skills and the spells listed here, albeit not detailed lest we learn of the dark deeds, could have been fascinating to have seen back in the day. I'm looking at bumpermancy here. That sounds fantastic. Runes that they paint on the lanes to make the ball go faster.
Mm-hmm.
Tilteronomy.
The things that they can do with multi-ball. Multi-ball theory is a whole other line of thought that only really the most experienced pinball wizards ever master.
Well, I mean, I see from this dusty tome from the turn of the millennium that I'm leafing through its gilded pages right now, it wasn't just multi-balls from within the table itself. Some of the more advanced wizards here were able to summon other balls from different dimensions, and they would just sort of come in through portals, and there was no limit to that.
No.
Yeah, I'm reading about Belias the Bullworthy, who once summoned so many balls that it cracked the glass of the table.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. It is a little bit a shame, but at the same time, I think I can understand where the pinball wizards are coming from, because like wizardry, that's what they do, right? That's their day-to-day. That's their grind. Their 9 to 5. And when they're done with that, they just want to do pinball, right? And they don't want to think about the wizarding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they want to get there and demonstrate on their own merits their skill and ability with the balls.
Don't we all?
And really nobody deals with balls the way a pinball wizard does. Just beautiful. You would think it was magic. That's the thing. That's when you see a pinball wizard really in their element and really working at it, you doubt whether or not there is some mystical force that is enabling this skill.
I mean, they do give the table a quick bash with their knee to try and stop the ball falling into a hole, though, right?
Well, of course. I mean, that's part of the game, right? It's man versus machine.
Yeah, the eternal struggle. Not counting the Spice Girls and the Knights Templar, of course.
That is interesting that you should bring that up, because the Knights Templar at one time did have a bit of a disagreement with the pinball wizards.
I can only imagine what with their strict vows regarding pinball.
Oh, yeah, no, the Templars find it to be a damaging diversion that rots the spirit and the soul. They are vehemently against pinball. I mean, we remember the Pinball Crusades. It's just tragic loss of life and machines. So, and I think that they've settled into an uneasy peace now. The Templars don't feel threatened by pinball any longer. Like, they feel like they have won the campaign of hearts and minds. But, I don't know. I think that there's still room. I think there's still some of that shining light out there. I think that there's really a chance that it's just going to take one brilliant pinball wizard, one like Tommy, to bring it all back.
And I like to think that maybe we'll see that person someday soon. But fascinating chat. Wonderful to learn about pinball wizardry. I think I'm going to take this dusty old tome with gilded pages from the turn of the century and just read about it in my own time and do nothing at all untoward with it. No!
FistShark Marketing is Jim Sterling and Conrad Zimmerman. Theme music by Ben Rama. Additional music by Alazar Chand. Our editor is Austin Yorsky. Get more episodes and learn how to support the show at FistShark.com. Follow us on Twitter at FistShark for more of our exploits. Complaints can be forwarded via email to fistsharkmarketing@aol.com. And remember, repetition, reputation. Goodbye.